What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast, Beyond the Shadows, Overcoming Tragedy. I'm Joe. That's Joseph. In
What's
today's
up?
episode, we're going to be talking about the dangers of therapy and how it didn't work. Now, we were just talking because right now is our second take at this podcast. We recorded it. We recorded it before, and we got 30 minutes of it done. And
It was
then
so
when it
good.
was time,
So good.
yes, when it was time to mix it down, it was only just him and not me. So this is take two. And it's all right because we feel like we can talk about it again anyway. It
Yeah, we'll
was,
be all right.
we talk about it all the time. So, first off, we're going to talk about how, when we say the dangers of therapy, basically like how therapy didn't work for neither one of us. I thought it was just me, but talking to him, it was him as well. And how we got into therapy, which I was going through. I think it was right before my dad had passed away, and so this had to be like maybe 2017 ish, maybe 2016. I was suicidal back then, and I didn't let nobody know about it. So I was just how everybody else do on social media, scrolling through, go to therapy, seek help, seek help. So I tried talking to everybody that was around me, which most of my friends, they were all alcoholics and drunks and doing drugs. So what good is that to do to talk to somebody like that when we're all going through something? So I
Yeah.
went ahead and Googled um, a therapist. First therapist I came to, I didn't even weigh my options or anything. I just Googled, typed in therapy, went down, and checked myself into therapy or made an appointment. And my therapist at the time, we had no connection at all, zero connection. So uh, and that was my first time ever going to therapy. And like I was saying the other day, nobody ever told me, huh?
So what led you to the point of feeling like you needed therapy? Like what was it? What specific things were you going through that told you I gotta do something. I gotta do something different. I gotta reach out for help.
Well, um, I was going through a lot of trauma that happened in my childhood that was undealt with. A lot of
Right.
trauma that nobody knew about.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that on a later podcast. But there was a lot of trauma that happened when I was a child that led
Yeah.
me into holding it all in. And I felt like the alcohol, I was just getting numb to the alcohol. I would drink and wouldn't even get drunk. Like it was just normal.
Yeah. Yeah,
I would
I
just be
definitely remember I
drinking.
was there during those times where you were, it started off, you were kind of casually drinking because you used to not drink at all. When I first met
Zero.
you, yeah, when I first met you, this was what, 2000, what year is this? I can't
5 or 6.
2005 or 6. And I was a manager at White Castle and you had just got hired on, and then, we became friends from that point. And then, stayed friends even after you left White Castle or whatever. But I just remember when I first met you, you was squeaky clean. You didn't smoke, you didn't drink, you didn't do nothing. You barely even cussed. And
Right.
it was odd because I didn't really have any friends like that at all. But I think that's one of the main reasons why our friendship flourished, was because you were different. You were in a different type of mindset back then. And so when you started drinking, it started off casually. And I remember, just seeing it start to grow and become more and more, and eventually to the point where it got so bad when we was up in Gatlinburg. Then I remember, what was it, Yingling? Got
Yes.
it was two. How many beers did you drink that night?
I drunk like 24. I got two 12 packs.
2 12-packs, a Yingling, and you drunk them all by yourself. Because I wasn't drinking, was I? I drank
No.
maybe 1 or 2 or something, but
Yeah.
I remember waking up the next morning and it hadn't really dawned on me. I knew that was a lot. I'm like, God, man, a 24-pack on your own? But I remember waking up the next morning, you were already up and you had a beer in your hand. Wasn't no breakfast, nothing. You were drinking a beer. And I'm like, bro, you already drinking? And you said, yeah. I'm like, God, I remember right then, like, oh man, this could be a problem. This could really be a
And
problem.
and it was because at that point when we started traveling, I was coming towards the end of drinking. I didn't know I was going to quit drinking. I just how I quit drinking. I just had a real bad night, and it was the new year, and I was starting a new diet, and
Was that
I
keto?
yeah, it was keto. So keto wasn't calling for too much alcohol, so I ended up
No.
quitting, and I ended up never going back. I said, man, when I was doing the diet, I was like, man, I'm in a good headspace right now.
Yeah,
Like I'm getting healthier, and then now, without the alcohol, I can see the effects of my mental health changing.
right.
So it was me getting healthier and then eliminating alcohol. So I just quit for
Yeah.
good. And
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm definitely glad you did.
yeah, but I had some long nights, man. I was drinking so much, man. I drank like a fifth of alcohol and like a 12-pack of beer, and every night, even on work nights.
I know. I remember when I
And
was coming to pick you up every once in a while. You know, it seemed like any time that we was gonna go somewhere together, it was always a stop at the corner mark, liquor store, or something, and you was grabbing
yeah,
something. But it's amazing how you went from just boom to bam. You just stopped cold turkey,
yeah,
and then you ain't never went back. I'm proud of you.
no,
I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you did that.
appreciate it. And then
Yeah,
going to therapy, I'm telling the therapist my problems. Like, hey, I'm drinking myself to sleep every night. And
yeah,
they like, well, just try to cut back. Try to cut back on it. It's like it
yeah.
wasn't no real like steps to get me out off of alcohol, or maybe if you stop drinking alcohol, then maybe your mental health will start getting better. It wasn't that because I
Right.
feel like they were trying to not tell me the keys to really getting my mental health together because
Try to keep you coming back, right?
yes. So
Prolong it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I
Right.
kept coming back, kept coming back. They never told me to stop drinking alcohol. They never
Yeah.
told me what was the root. We never got to the root. It was just come back. I sit down over there on the couch, and it's like, what did you do this week? I mean, I can talk about that with anybody,
You could have hit me up
but
and
I
asked
mean,
me that. Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool.
So, and ultimately, it made me end up down at the doctor that they have there, and he's prescribing me some medicine that I was
Man.
taking every week.
Right.
That didn't do anything.
No.
So
It's gonna make
I
it
don't even know
worse.
how. Yeah, and I think I winged myself off, man. Like I want to say it was. I don't know how I winged myself. Well, no, yeah, we were talking about that. We were talking about how we winged up. Like I haven't asked. Well, first off, before we get to my part, tell us
Yeah.
about your experience with therapy, and then because we'll both
Well,
tell each other like we'll both tell them how we winged ourselves out of it.
when I first went to therapy, I think it was freshly after my divorce, I think. Or maybe I was going through the process. And I had never really considered, actually, no, this was my second go around at therapy. My first go around was a much deeper situation. And this was shortly after 2009. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Keith Norfleet. I was very involved in the whole Steve McNair, Sahel Kazemi situation. I was her ex-boyfriend. And that whole situation, it's a whole different topic we'll cover later on. But that situation really drove me to a very dark place. And it took me so long to get to a good spot after all that happened. But That situation had me suicidal as well. And I was at a point in my life where I did not think that there was ever going to be better days. And when I finally listened, I had a sister, my sister, who had been telling me, address these issues, with a psychiatrist, go to a therapist. And I'm like, man,
Was that
I work
your
at
older
I work
sister
at
or your
White
youngest one?
Castle. The one that went to LA with us.
Oh, your
The
youngest sister.
not
Okay.
not younger than me, but my younger sister, Crystal.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was telling me, you need to try therapy. Therapy worked for me. Therapy, it's a good spot. It's somebody who's unbiased, that can, that can listen, that can talk to you, who aren't just gonna be a yes person, this, that, and another. So I'm like, I finally caved in. But what was so difficult for me was, when that happened, I was still working at White Castle. Was I making like $10 an hour? No, bro. Like, I didn't
Thought you was
have money
balling.
like that. We was driving around and beat up Hondas and crap. So, I scraped it up and I went. I think I managed to find some kind of program that gave me assistance, but I went and I had a very positive outlook about this, right? I went in with, my head held high. I'm like, bro, this is the right step. I go in there and, I got in the back of my mind spending very hard earned money. It was rough. It was rough getting money that we were getting back then. But, I'm like, I got to do what I got to do. And, I'm like, I just really hope this works because I don't have the money for this. And first visit, it's they're hour-long sessions. And I swear I spent an hour filling out forms and giving them information like my full name and date of birth and what school I went to, where I grew up, and stuff like that. And I understand that might be vital information for whatever reason. I'm not sure. I don't know. But when you're dealing with something traumatic like that, you don't want to take a day, 2, 3, because you see them once a week or however much you can afford to see them, which is, very few far in between. And let's be real, majority of the people that really need therapy, they ain't got the money for therapy. Therapy is
Yes.
expensive, so your visits are going to be pretty spread out, if you're going, unless you're balling and you can afford to go like 2 or 3 times a week. But that wasn't the case for me. So, I literally spent the first 2 or 3 sessions, man, and this is once a week. And I feel like I got nowhere. And I got to the point to where I told my this is my first therapist, and I told her, I was like, I don't feel like I'm making any progress, because she asked me, she's like, do you feel like you're getting better now that you're talking to me? I said, no, I don't. And that's when she pulled out the sheet and started trying to, prescribe me medication and stuff. Now, I've always been open to medication initially because, I've had family take it and it'd be positive for them. I've had friends take it, it'd be positive for them. But it wasn't for me. It was not for me. And I think they prescribed me Buspar, and it was a pretty heavy dosage. And they prescribed me Ambien to help me sleep. And this was crucial because after everything happened in 2009, I had a week of bereavement. But everybody knows a week wasn't enough time for it all to blow over, And 1 week later, I had to be right back at work acting like none of this bothered me. And, I'm on medication in therapy and I'm showing up to White Castle and I'm swarmed by media. They're camping out outside my house. They're camping out at my job. I'm having to like push my way through just to open up the door to go to work. It's crazy, man. But, I'm doing this, going to work, battling my way through 8-hour days. And then I'm coming home, battling through this media to get in my door. And they're literally like camping out on my doorstep. You saw it. And I got to go inside and I got to find a way to go to sleep. So that's where the Ambien came into play. However, I took the Ambien and the Ambien started making me hallucinate, bro. I ain't never had nothing like that in my life. I don't know how it works for other people. It could be a great thing for other people, but for me, it got scary. It really got scary, and it took me from where, a normal person would be right here. Then the traumatic events that happened to me brought me down here. That Ambien, when I woke up in the morning, bro, I was down here, and I had to build myself back up. It was so depressing, and at the same time I was taking Buspar, and Buspar really had me like worse off too. So I told my therapist in the next session, and that therapist told me, all right, I'm gonna pull you off Buspar, and they put me on Zoloft. Now Zoloft did actually help, but then there were other little side effects that was messing with me, and I'm like, bro, like I'm not trying to trade in this ain't no deal. I'm trying to get better. I'm not trying to swap my pain for some other problems. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, man, I gotta find another route. So, I literally, I'm like, I'm gonna deal with this head on. And I stopped taking meds completely. And I put my head down and I battled through that, and the rest is history. I mean, y'all know, like, my family knows, I dealt with it. And I dealt with it by basically turning it all off. I found a switch somewhere and I turned all my emotions off. And I was like, just tunnel vision, focus, do what I got to do, make sure I make money, make sure my bills are paid, and you'll deal with all the other stuff later on when you can. And it sucks that I had to do that, bro, because I handled it that way, and I feel like I had to handle it that way. I deal with this stuff today still. I mean,
So
there's
your
still times
first round.
First round was horrible. It was horrible.
So your first round was way back then, and then you went again after your divorce.
Right. So I gave it. Well, I think it was during my divorce that I really started considering, because that brought me to a real dark spot too, bro. Like, you were there too when that was all going on. I mean, you were one of the first places that I came to like not be by myself. You know what I mean? And that divorce was horrible, man. It was crippling. It took me from being a father and a husband to, just a single individual again with nothing, bro. And you know how hard I worked to build up what I had before the divorce. And I went from being a father, husband with a home and all these things that I worked hard to get, 2 vehicles, to nothing. No car, no home, a garbage bag of clothes, some work clothes. Basically, all I had was my job, bro. So like it was rough. It was rough, and I had to move in with my dad, and that was tough, man, because nobody at my age wants to do that. But I had no other choice, and I was calling my sisters just endlessly, bro, and it got to the point where the pain was so bad sometimes I had to call in the middle of the night just to find some kind of comfort. And I knew, deep down inside, you're struggling, but at the same time, it's also it's affecting the people you're hitting up too. You know what I mean? And I think that's what kind of did it. My sister kept suggesting, why don't you give therapy another go around? Just don't do meds. Don't give into the med situation this time. Just talk.
So you didn't do the meds the second time?
No, I did not. I refused. They tried the second session, bro. She was already trying to sign me up. She had a prescription wrote up, and I'm like, nah, I ain't asked for that. I'm not doing that this time. I said, I'm gonna do this. I just want to talk it out. And she's like, so you don't want to try this at all? And she kept pushing. Are you sure this could be a really good thing for you? I'm like, I'm positive. I'm good. I just want to talk. So
that's wild, man. Because like, I don't know. Like I did the meds, they didn't work for me at all. Like I don't know. I don't know if it was because I think they was working for me or whatever. I don't know. I don't think it worked for me either, because I was doing the medicine in the morning before I go to work, and then at nighttime I was drinking myself to sleep. So it didn't even balance itself out.
Did you ever have any type of like negative side effects? I definitely did. Did you?
I mean, I didn't want to be here no more. I didn't want to be
You think the
in the world.
meds?
So
Do you think the meds like
I
encourage
don't
that
know.
feeling?
I think it was about. I think it was from just all the hurt that I had in the inside that I just kept bottled up, and I never like told anybody. And like that therapist, I didn't even feel comfortable enough to just really open up with him. So I still had all
You
this stuff in the inside.
you were really closed off because I kid you not, bro. Like you didn't really start opening up about stuff like this, even with me. And we've known each other for years. And for the longest, bro, you act like, everything's great. And I had no clue that you were dealing with any of this. And it didn't start really dawning on me, like I said, until I started noticing you were drinking heavily. And I'm like, there's gotta be something going on. And then you started developing these little episodes too, where we would go from talking like every day, hanging out like every day, and then all of a sudden, boom, silence. And we would go for like a month without speaking. And remember, at first, I'm like, I would text you and be like, "Hey, bro, you all right?" Yeah, and you would be like, "Yeah, I just got to kind of break away sometimes. I got to clear my mind." And I kind of cut everybody off, and I'm like, "All right, I just want to make sure you straight." And the thing is like you still kind of do that to this day, but it's like
Yeah.
now I understand it, I get it, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let him do his thing and kind of straighten everything out. And then you hit me up, talk to me.
I'm like, where you been at?
All right, and I'm like,
But
where have I been at? I've been in the same spot. But but yeah, man,
I don't know. It's
it's
just like
crazy. Go
that's a
ahead.
pattern that I've been having all these years, and I try to like I'm
Yeah,
trying to break it, but I don't know, like because I don't want to go back to therapy or anything like that, so I just try to close myself off and try to
yeah,
like reset everything,
yeah.
and then come back. But I know that's bad too. I think in some cases where you could just uh, put yourself away from everybody, I think
I
that
don't
can be
know.
bad
I
as
mean,
well.
honestly, I think, you got to do what you got to do. That's why I don't ever give you no gripe about it. You know what I mean? Like, there isn't one time, like, I mean, except for the first couple of times, I'm like, bro, you got to let me know you're straight. Like, you're good. But after a while, yeah, I got to kind of used to it because the thing is like, you have to do what's healthy for you. And if that's a healthy reset for you, as long as you're not doing anything destructive. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, everybody else needs to. We're the ones who need to adjust, not you. You ain't got to adjust to
yeah,
us. We need to adjust to you because you're doing whatever you got to do to make sure that you're good. And
yeah,
that's why I never give you any gripe about it. I understand, I get it, and I'm like, all right, just hit me up when you're ready to hit me back up. And I mean, it's
yeah.
it's been good ever since. But I mean, like, so once as far as that second therapy session, man, like, I gave that maybe 3 sessions, but it was costing me, like, at this point I had no assistance. I was a GM. I was running my own store. I was actually running a couple locations at Wendy's at this point, and that job was probably the most stressful job I'd ever had at the tail end of my working there. But I was trying to battle, going through a divorce and going to work and trying to run a store, and they was breathing down my neck about all kinds of nonsense at that place. And so I'm like, I got to. I can't blow my sister's phones up. I can't blow your phone up. I can't keep trying to push my problems off on other people. I got to get therapy another shot. Maybe it just wasn't for me back then. Maybe that was too traumatic. Maybe this will be different. But bro, like, when you're spending $200 a session, it was, again, with the paperwork, the irrelevant information. And I get, yet again, I feel like this stuff should have been covered already online or something before the sessions began. But it's like they take advantage, in my opinion, of utilizing 2 to 3 sessions up front by you just filling out paperwork. And I
I think
finally go ahead.
what I was saying yesterday. I think therapy. Just this is my opinion. I think personally, it's in some cases it's just like a money grab because if you tell people how to get well, then they won't come back, and you won't have a job. That's just what
Well,
I
that's
think.
I completely agree with you because I've been out of this country only to Mexico, but I've visited a medical facility in Mexico and a couple times actually, and it's a totally different vibe, bro. Like, first off, it's much cheaper, and I'm obviously the rates down there is a lot different than Americans, but the vibe that I get that's much different, is medically here in America, whether it be the doctor, whether it be psychiatry or a therapist or anything, it's almost as if they're not trying to get you better. They just try to keep you coming back. They don't want to heal you.
Yes,
They want to treat you.
yes.
And that's a problem. That's a problem, bro, because I ain't got the money to be treated for my
They
entire
want to
life.
just keep
You know
it
what I mean?
like they want to keep it where it's like kind of
Yeah.
taking like I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah. So
where
I
it's
gave it, me personally, I gave it the second go around, bro. I gave it 2 to 3 shots. By the time we got to the first session that actually got somewhere, this woman, I swear to God, it's like she was talking to me about everything except what I wanted to talk about. She was asking me
yeah.
questions that were like completely irrelevant to the reason I was there. And I'm like, okay,
That's
politely,
why that's why I
thank
was
you,
saying
but no thank you. You know?
that's why I was saying the other day, like that's why it's important. I think therapy is not for everybody. It's for some people, but you
Yeah.
have to you have to like filter through. You have to go a couple times and find out who is the person for you. Because
Right.
like your
Yeah.
sister, she had a good experience because she
She
had
did.
that
Yeah.
person that was for her. The
Right.
people that we got connected with, we didn't have a connection. We didn't have anything where we felt like, man, I can open up to this guy or this woman.
Right.
And that's what I say, man. If y'all are going to go get therapy, I'm not saying don't go get therapy, but if you are going to go get therapy, make sure you take the time to know the person. Look at their LinkedIn profile, look at their experience, look at their ratings, and find out who is going to be that one that's going to be connected to you so you can open all the way up. You don't want to be sitting there in therapy and you cannot open up and tell the whole truth about what's going on in your inside or in your mental, because then
Right.
that's going to be a roadblock that nobody can help.
Yeah. And see, also, to that point, you know, hence the title, risks or dangers of therapy. The reason why we say that is because there's risks. If you're in the position, especially financially, or if the time in your life is very time constrained, and that limits the therapists that you can go and visit, that limits your options to who you can narrow it down to find the right therapist for you. The problem with that is you could possibly land or find the wrong therapist. And the reason I feel like that's a risk or a danger to someone who is dealing with something traumatic or going through depression or at a very low spot in their life, and especially suicidal, if therapy is your last resort and then you go to therapy, you go to a therapist and that therapist doesn't work, it's going to make you feel like nothing will. It's going to make you feel like you've ran out of options and you're just stuck like that. And the truth is you're not. You're not, because therapy is not the last option. It's not the last resort. It's not the only thing that's going to get you through this. And me and Joe are living proof, because we tried therapy. I tried it twice. I don't know how many times you tried it. I know you tried it once.
Just once. Yeah, just
Okay,
once.
well, we tried therapy, we tried meds. These things failed us horribly at very low spots in our life. Where at one point I was suicidal, Joe was suicidal, and we found a way to break away from this stigma or the idea that you have to see a psychiatrist, you have to be in therapy when you're going through things like this. There's something wrong with your brain or chemical imbalances, this, that, and another. You need meds, but you don't. You really don't. You have
And
to
we
go ahead.
go. What you
Well, I
gonna
was just
say?
gonna say you gotta, what I did I had to really dig down deep myself and personally. I don't want to speak for you or anybody else, but what I did personally is I can find a ray of happiness. And I think the biggest problem for me is coming out of that divorce. I went from being a husband, a father, full time, and dedicating all of my free time into making my then wife and my children and others happy, and that was my happiness. But after the divorce and it's just me again, I had to re-find me and who I was and what made me happy again. And that was the most difficult thing I probably have ever had to do personally myself, was re-find who I was. And man, because I went from like 10, 11 years, I didn't even know who I was anymore. I was a husband and a father. But who am I? What did I like? And one thing that me and you got back into, and one thing, the main thing that helped me was I found an old passion from when I was young and before I ever got married, which was traveling. And I hit you up, bro, and I'm so glad that you were down and you were ready to go. And we took that first trip, bro. And where we go first? We went to Panama City, right? Or
Yeah, I think
Gulf
so.
Shores. Yeah.
Yeah, Gulf Shores.
We picked somewhere we had never been that was easily, attainable, easy to get to. It wasn't a lot of money. And at this point, I was still working in Wendy's at that point. And, so I didn't have a lot to spend. But going there was, although I was still dealing with a lot of pain, that ocean breeze and the reminder that I can do this. The four walls that I've been sitting inside of at my dad's house, or that feeling of depression, this is possible. I don't have to sit I can feel this way, and it's normal to feel the way that I'm feeling going through what I'm going through, but I don't have to do it where I'm doing that at. I can do it somewhere else that might just take a little bit of the edge off. And when we went there, bro, I felt a ray of hope, and I was
And we
like,
kept going.
this is it.
We
This
kept
is it. Yeah. Bro,
we
we
kept setting
traveled
up.
so much. Oh my God, bro.
And that
I've been places I've never been before because of making that decision. It's awesome.
and that traveling pulled us out. Traveling, getting away. And
Yeah.
what I was saying, speaking to you yesterday about it, is like when y'all are taking vacations, don't just take a vacation and stay at home and I'm gonna sleep all day.
Right.
Go drive to out of the city. Go and
Yes.
plan a vacation.
Yes.
And man, those vacations we took, we traveled to maybe, I think I counted, I mean, probably 10, 15 cities. Like,
And it was
for,
it was such a short span too, man. It was like I wasn't allowing myself the time to stay down. Like I was, every time I had freed up money, I was shoveling it into a new trip. And I'm so glad that I did that because my bills were paid, but all my freed up money, it wasn't going into alcohol, it wasn't going into cigarettes, it wasn't going into drugs, it wasn't going into medication or
oh,
therapy. It
but
was it
yeah,
was plane tickets and Airbnbs, and that was the best therapy, bro, I could have ever asked for right there.
yeah, I think if we didn't have that period, I would probably be still down. If we didn't
Me
have that
too.
period right there of traveling and going to go see That there's
Yeah.
things outside of the stuff we trapped in here. Because me and you, we're both raised in the city, born and raised.
Right.
So when you go out and you see, man, it's so much other stuff that's outside of your city, and
Yeah.
there's so much other stuff in this world that you can see that can bring you happiness. You'll be like taken aback by how small things can bring you happiness that you wouldn't even know about. I mean,
And the
like when
truth
me and
is too. Go ahead. My bad. I didn't want
uh
to cut you off.
no, you go ahead. You go
Well,
ahead.
I was gonna say, you know, there's a stigma around traveling too. You know, there's this idea that traveling, like, you got to be rich. We weren't rich. We weren't rich. You know what we did? You know how we did it? We was two broke dudes working 9 to 5s at the time when we started this, and we put our money together. So if you can't do it on your own, find a friend that can do it with you. Find somebody that can do it with you, and you can go in on half. I mean, just give yourself something to look forward to, and I promise you, man, like, it pulled me out of
That's it.
such a dark
That's
place,
it.
bro. Like,
That's it right there. You said
give
it.
yourself something to look forward
Give
to.
yourself give yourself something to look forward to. So like right now we're in June.
Yeah,
If you knew in August that you're about to go on a cruise, man, I mean that right there can
yeah,
change your
it
whole
it
outlook. Like,
yeah. Instead of looking at when you're depressed, it seems like you look at, you know, you're looking at tomorrow a lot, not the next day or the next day or the next day. You're looking at tomorrow, and it's such a dreadful feeling because you're like, I'm gonna feel like this tomorrow too. And I can't count how many times I woke up and I'm like, I feel just as bad as I did yesterday. But the thing is when you start to do these things like what we did with the traveling, and you start to find that little, it just takes just a little ray of sunshine, a little ray of light, and a little ray of happiness to break through all them shadows, all that smoke, you know, like, you start to look beyond tomorrow, and you start to look towards, man, I want that feeling again. I want that little bitty ray of sunshine, because it might not be so little anymore. It might be a little bit bigger next time. And that's what happened, because I went from, bro, I was still down. I know you know, because when we went to Gulf Shores, bro, I would wake up and I would still be down, remember? And it would take me a little bit to kind of get into a normal operating human being later on in the day. But by the time, I think we was talking about this yesterday. When we went to Miami, I think I was like, this is where it's at, right? You know, this, I still feel down, but I feel more normal than I have in a long time when we went to Miami. And we had a ball in Miami. That was a fun trip, other than the ants in the Airbnb. You remember
yeah,
that?
and the lizard
So
that was on our
yeah, the
windowsill.
lizard that was inside. But Miami was fun. No, except for the fishing trip. The fishing trip was horrible. Remember that?
Oh yes, we both got seasick.
Hey, you want to talk about feeling like death? That felt like
Yeah,
death.
we were
My
so
God.
excited. We like we about to go fishing. We about to go fishing, and got out there and got seasick. Worst
Seasick
feeling in
and
the world.
worse. From the moment we was on that boat to the moment we got off, I felt like death. I didn't want to move. If I moved my finger, I felt like I was gonna puke. It was
Yeah,
so bad. It was so
yeah.
bad. I hated that. But, you know, like, outside of that, Miami was probably the biggest eye opener. Like, this is how I'm going to get better. But by the time we went to San Diego, this is what we was talking about yesterday. San Diego changed me. When we went to San Diego, I was like, man, life is so beautiful when you allow it to be. You know, when you stop focusing on all your issues and all your problems, and you just look around, bro. San Diego's so beautiful. Such a beautiful place, man. And the weather, The weather, bro. I mean, you're talking to a kid. It's a kid that came from Antioch, Tennessee, where it's gray. We are gray. We're
Mm-hmm.
gray people. There's no black,
Yeah.
white, nothing like. We're gray. We're gray coming out of
Yeah.
that city. So, going to San Diego, bro, it was just so vibrant and colorful, bro, and just beautiful beyond belief, man. And I'll never forget because we went closer to the fall, right? We went in like September. It was like August or September.
October.
Oh, October. Yeah, that's right. Because we went to that Halloween we went to that haunted place or whatever. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the weather, bro, like being there at that time of year and the weather feeling the way that it did, and then going up to that mountaintop and seeing the ocean and the sunset the way that we did with your brother. I don't know where Juan was at this point. Where did Juan go?
No, I don't know where he's.
That man was in some music somewhere. I don't know, but
I forgot he went.
I know it's crazy, but yeah, man, like that trip alone was the biggest eye opener, and it let me know I can do this on my own. I don't need medication. I don't need therapy. All I need is good friends, like I had around me, with you, Kendrick, Juan, and I just, as long as I'm focused on what makes me happy and actually loving myself and taking care of myself, that I'll be all right. And that was it, bro. Like, and I haven't looked back since, bro. I haven't looked back. It's been awesome.
I'm gonna tell you another thing that helped me. Besides that traveling, I'm gonna say another thing that people won't even realize that it's hurting their mental. But it's the watch what you feeding yourself, as far as what you're looking at and what you're listening to.
Oh yeah.
If you are that, it's like you're feeding your mind. So if you are grieving somebody or you are going through something, don't put on music that's negative. Put up uplifting music. When me and you, when we were traveling, I wasn't listening to Adele cry in the backyard about some love she lost. I wasn't listening to her. I was listening. You know what I'm saying? I was listening to Bob Marley. Everything. Don't worry, everything's gonna be all right. You know what I mean?
When we were going to the Keys, we put on Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Red Hot.
Yeah, and Kendrick was in the back like, what are we listening to?
You gotta change what you listening to. I'm telling you, if you cut out all of that bad music and all of the bad TV shows and all that stuff, and then you incorporate like the traveling, like with that, man, that's what I did. I don't need therapy. Like, I don't need therapy at all. Like, I watch I pay attention when I watch, and then I pay attention when I listen to, and because I don't want to get triggered. I don't want to go back down to that dark place by certain things, and then that traveling, getting out, that's what helped me.
Yep. And you remember, I had another aspect. I always loved taking pictures and everything, but I tried something new. Remember, every time we would travel, I started trying to make those travel videos, and I got really into that for a while.
Oh yeah.
And that was helping me a lot, because not only could I, were we traveling, but I could salvage those memories. And what was really cool is, when I would travel with the boys, I could make travel videos with them. And then, whenever they would, come to my house, I would show them the videos, and to see their faces light up with the memory of it, and then asking when can we go do that again and stuff like that. That gave me a good feeling, bro. Like, knowing that I was making my sons happy, I was salvaging those memories and keeping them in a bank, because, I mean, when you're dealing with depression, bro, it's easy to forget. It is. And that helped me remember and go back and remind myself, I did that. Regardless of how I felt, I did that. I went there, I did that, and I can do it again. But Yeah, man.
So
There's so many different outlets you can take, bro. That's beyond therapy and medication. It really is.
so what are your coming to an end on this podcast? What's your final thoughts? Like as far as
Well, final thoughts from me would, I hopefully nobody takes this as me and you knocking therapy or like being anti-therapy, because, let me reiterate, and I can speak for Joe as well when I say this, that I'm not saying therapy is a bad thing, but I'm saying therapy isn't for everyone, and it's not a guaranteed fix all for everyone. And there are some people that can't afford, therapy like I couldn't, or the proper therapy, or searching for the right therapist, and it's not the end of the line for you. And jumping back, to that point, it worked. It worked awesome for my sister. My sister, the one who suggested it to me multiple times. It worked great for her. And I'm sure it works great for tons of people. And again, we're not knocking that idea. We're just trying to say that there are risks and you need to be aware of them, because it can take you from a low spot to feeling lower if it doesn't work for you. And if it doesn't, we're walking proof, that we have been at some of the lowest spots that you can imagine, suicidal and depressed out of our minds. And we found a way without therapy and without medication to help ourselves, to pull us up out of the ashes, to get us back to not only normalcy, but better spots than we've ever been at before.
mhm. Yeah.
Sorry, I keep clearing my throat, bro. My coffee is like on another level this morning.
Yeah. Man, that was good. And my final thoughts would be to everybody listening to don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. If that therapist, you're not feeling it with them or whatever, find another therapist or do some of the things we were telling y'all to do. But don't give up. Like, don't this ain't the end of the like this ain't the end for you.
Right.
Like you gotta keep pushing, you gotta keep living. It's gonna get better. Trust me. We're gonna talk about it on this podcast. We've been through so much stuff that will make us want to make anybody give up. Like go and we wanted to like not be here.
Yeah.
But we
You get
kept
to a
pushing
point,
through.
you feel so horrible. You just feel like it would be better if you just didn't exist anymore. I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
But then being out on the other side of this, we realized that we got purpose in life. It's purpose for everybody in this world. Like we're all born for a reason. And
Yeah.
and you can't give up. Like you can't give up. You have to keep going. So that's my final thoughts, man. Just keep going. Don't give up. If the therapy isn't working, try another therapist. Or if that don't work at all, try another outlet. Watch what you're intaking. Watch the music that you're feeding yourself. Watch the TV shows that you're feeding yourself. And then if you start changing that, then you'll start changing the way you look at life. And that's how I think. I mean,
Yeah. Let me add something too, bro. And this is the simplest thing. You can actually Google this. Fact check me if you need to. But one thing that my oldest sister suggested to me, and it worked tremendously. When you feel horrible, when you are depressed, and you find yourself sticking in your house and not wanting to leave, when it is sunshiny outside, go out on your porch. Just go out on your porch. Get some sunshine. Don't put a hat on. Not like me today. Don't wear a hat. Go out on your porch. Go check your mail. I know it's probably going to be junk mail or maybe a bill and you don't want to see that, but go check your mail. Go check your mail, because I got into the routine of going outside, getting sunlight, and it is scientifically proven that sunlight helps depression. And it done wonders for me. It really did. And I started checking my mail every daggum day, sometimes twice. And people were like, didn't you just check it? But I did it. And also, make your bed. When you wake up, make your bed.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why, but making your bed makes you feel better. And I still make my bed every morning to this day. And I don't feel right if I don't. So just want to
Yes.
add that in. Pretty cool.
Well, I think that concludes this podcast of why therapy didn't work, or
Right.
the dangers of therapy, or the other outlets we found that helped us come out on the other side of it. And
Yeah.
and we will keep the podcast coming.
Yep.
Subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and we'll see y'all on another episode of Beyond the Shadows, Overcoming Tragedy.
Good stuff.